microphone.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. Did anybody try the cafe yet?
Oh, it's so good.
Do they have good coffees and stuff?
Yeah, but
All right, cool.
It's closed now.
Oh, it's okay. I just wanted to know if everybody's like can hear me,
Yeah.
and can see me. All right, cool. We're good. Well, listen, welcome. I am so excited to be here. It's the first Women in Technology Toast cohort, and I'm so excited to be a part of it with these amazing women that you have already seen. And I could not thank Barca enough for this opportunity. This is amazing, and also my friend Tangy for sponsoring me for this. So I'm really excited about that. In this presentation, I'm going to walk you through some skills that I feel are needed to lead a team, and will determine whether you're ready to lead your own team. Okay? So a little bit about me. Sorry. I have been in tech for 20 plus years. Notice I use the plus so that you can't calculate like when I actually started. But if I had to tell you, it was before the mouse was introduced into technology. So you can guess. I have always been in management, operations, processes, and people. I started a company in 2011 and another business in 2013 while still in corporate. So that was kind of like my side hustle. And I'm very passionate about empowering minorities to step up into management positions. And the reason is that even until early last year, I was still going to meetings where I was the only woman, maybe the only Latin person, and maybe the only person who was not white, okay? And there are opportunities out there. I just think that we tend to not go out and seek them because maybe we think that we don't need to, but representation is important. And so I'm hoping that today you feel a little bit inspired to maybe approach that path, okay? So as of last year, I went back to consulting and now I'm a fractional COO, PM, and I also coach and mentor women in technology or people who are trying to see if a career in tech is good for them, okay? Because we hear a lot of these boot camps out there and people saying like, yeah, go do a cybersecurity boot camp or go do a software engineering boot camp. And then they promise you a lot of things, but they don't actually tell you what the career is about, right? So let me tell you about a story about a bad manager. Once upon a time, there was this young girl that was very much a leader, but was a terrible manager. She had been asked to be a manager without being asked if she had the skills for it. And she started out managing a team of 40 people and not knowing the first thing about what it is to manage people at all. And as part of that team, there were 4 assistants that would sit at the front desk, and they would share the work for everyone that worked there. And one of them didn't have proper hygiene. And so that manager got a lot of complaints about this one person. She didn't know how to deal with that. And there was no HR department. So, some ideas were thrown out. What if we leave a silver bar on top of the desk and see if they figure it out and that's what they need to do? But the best that she could come up with was, well, this person is Russian, my husband's Russian, he speaks Russian, maybe they can just speak in their language and then I don't have to deal with this. So she sent her husband to talk to this person, who actually happened to be a friend of the family. So she thought, oh, perfect. They know each other, he'll bring it up, he'll take care of it. And so the problem was solved. So this manager continued on her career that way, just asking somebody else to dealing with the problems, okay? Until one day, the same husband that she sent out to deal with her problems said, how are you ever gonna be a C-suite if you can't deal with people? And that really touched her heart, right? Because how do you deal with people if you can have a conversation with them and actually tell them when they messed up, right? And that's not just for work, that could be your family, your kids, your friends, right? What do you do if a friend breaks your heart? How do you have that conversation if you can't speak, right? So one day she got tired of being a bad manager. And the worst thing was that she had no examples of what a good manager was. The CEO she reported to at the time was even worse than her. He would ghost you if he was mad at you. And he actually ghosted her for 8 months when she got in his, pardon me, shit list. So that was kind of like a wake-up call because she didn't want to become him. And without Google, without ChatGPT, without friends, without a mentor or anything, she just figured out something has to change. I don't know what, but something has to change. So she thought, all right, let me start with communication. Maybe I'll start there, okay? And little by little, she got much better at managing people and became so amazing that she's standing here in front of you today, okay? If you didn't realize that was coming. So,
I'm sure somebody liked you back then.
you know, and a lot of it came because I didn't want to be the bad guy and tell somebody something that was going to upset them. I wanted to be well liked,
Right.
but that was the wrong approach, right? So, how do you know that you're ready to lead a team? Because nobody told me, you're ready. We're going to hire you as a manager. In fact, to this day, any interview that I go to for a job, even like contract work, nobody ever asked me, how are your management skills? What is your management style? What is your leadership style? No one ever asked that. And I bet if you ever went for an interview, you probably haven't been asked much about that, right? You might have been given examples about how you would deal with a situation, right? So how do you know if you're ready or not, right? Or if you have what it takes to lead a team, right? So let's do a quick test. If you have paper, pull out a piece of paper or your phone. We're gonna keep tally, all right? And for every question that you get right, you get 1 point. Okay, so give yourself 1 point for every question that you get right. So you could use your phone or a piece of paper. All right. And if you do get a half right question, you'll give yourself half a point, okay? All right, everybody ready? Here we go. Let's see if you're ready. Fill in the blank. Am I a bad, mediocre, and excellent communicator? Okay? And before you answer, I want you to think about this, all right? And this could be even just today with your partners, your family, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, right? Think of a situation. Have you been able to communicate clearly something to them? And did they understand you, right? And did they meet your expectations of that conversation, right? So the answer is, see, I'm an excellent communicator, okay? One of the first things that I did when I realized, like, I gotta get better at this shit or I'm just not going anywhere, was I need to communicate better. And again, I didn't Google anything, I didn't buy a book. I just waited until the next situation presented itself and I handled it the best thing that I could. And guess what? It happened exactly the same day as I had made the decision. I'm getting better today. And instead of saying like, oh, I'll wait until January 1st to get better, you know, because let's do a New Year's resolution. Let's start next year, you know. I said, all right, here it is. Here's my first test to see if I can communicate better. Because people can't read my mind. Now, I do have a couple of psychic friends that do read my mind, but that's only 2 people that I know, okay? So, I don't read minds, all right? So that situation presented itself, and I remember shaking as I'm replying to that person to tell them that they messed up and that they needed to fix this, okay? Because I was afraid that that person wasn't gonna like me anymore. And I did it, I sent out the text, that person apologized, they fixed the mistake, and we moved on. And the next time that I saw them in person, everything was fine. And I was scared to see them after that interaction, right? So, again, communication, I cannot tell you, I know it's overrated, we hear it everywhere, it's a key word, you have excellent communication skills, right? But you do have to have excellent communication skills. If you don't, it's anything in your life, right? That's the number one thing. All right, so next question. Ready for this? Multiple choice. Do I actively listen to my team members without interrupting? Okay, and this is a good one because this happens everywhere, okay? Think about it. All right, ready for the answer? Yes, I actively listen without interrupting. The reason why this is important is because sometimes we get so excited when we're in a conversation with someone that we're not listening, we're just thinking of what are you gonna say next? Oh, I have a story that matches your story. I'm gonna interrupt you and tell you what happened to me, right? That's nice and great, but you're not listening, right? And you're there to listen. Even, again, everyone around you, right? And I started doing that. I started to really actively listen without having to think of my own story that I'm gonna jump in and tell you, okay? And I started practicing it just not only at work, but also in my personal life. I have friends that we go back to early 2000s. We're still friends to these days. We all went to college together. We started our first student film association at the school that we went to. And we're super movie buffs. I mean, we're always talking about best director, best actress. Did you see this line? Did you read this? Did you watch this, right? But we get so excited that we're constantly interrupting with each other and almost shouting at each other. Blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, but this isn't that. So I started noticing that we do this, and we all love each other. There's no issues there, but we're not really having a conversation. We're just having a shouting match. Even though it's about something exciting, like a topic that we all like. And so what I started doing, instead of telling everybody what's happening, I just started being quiet and listening. Okay, because we lead by example. You cannot ask somebody like, I need you to listen to me actively without interrupting if you're not willing to do it yourself. Okay? So actively listen to my team members. All right, next. A or B, yes or no? Can I understand and relate to the feelings and experiences of my team? Right? And this could be, again, your family members, your friends, right? And this is really empathy, right? This is empathy. Can we empathize with people, right? It's another skill that you see everywhere. What's your EQ? You have EQ skills, right? We see this in job descriptions all the time. So the answer is yes. Give yourself a point if you said yes. Okay, so let me tell you something about empathy. In order to empathize with someone, you have to be able to know them and understand it. And you cannot know that if you don't get to know your team and your people around you, okay? And this is not just like, hey, how's the weather in Texas, right? No, this is like deep stuff. Like, I know Tatiana, her lifestyle, her kids, all of that. You know, same thing with Barca, with Pallavi, Renita, Dajana, all of my friends. I know something about them beyond the weather, their favorite color, and things like that. And that only comes from having time with them and getting to know them, okay? So that is very important. Get to know your team, all right? Dedicate time for that. dedicate space for that, and dedicate time for them to get to know each other as well. Okay, so I would do this very once a month, sort of like, and I hate to call it team builders because that word makes me cringe inside. So I would have these sessions, and we call it like our monthly team meeting. And I would have these questions where everybody gets to answer a random question about a theme. One time I did this Halloween theme, and there was someone who loved candy. They just are obsessed about candy, and they eat candy all the time. And I wanted her to come out of her shell and get to know everyone in the team. And we did that, and it was the best activity. So I asked her, "What's your favorite candy?" And she got all excited. "Yes, this is my topic. I know how to answer this question. I'm good at this." And she came out and she said, "I love any candy, any sweets. I'm obsessed." And everybody jumped in. "Oh my God, I love this, I love that, I love." And so she came out of the shell. Still to this day, that team, we're all friends, we're all in a group chat, and we talk almost every day about everything and anything. All right, this is my favorite Office movie ever. If you know him, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Will he seek feedback from his team, right? Now I want you to remove the name from the question and say, do I seek advice and feedback from my team on my leadership skills, right? So what is the answer? The answer should be yes, I actively seek feedback from my team. Bill did not, okay? If you haven't seen the movie, it's a cult classic, little plug-in. That's just, so I love movies, so to this day, it's a great movie to watch. It's still, in all levels, it's still very much the same if you haven't seen it. And then you'll understand why Office Depot makes so much money on red staplers. So here's the thing about feedback, right? It's great when people like you, everything is going well, but if you're not open to feedback, you can't grow, right? And so one of the things that I did once I got better, I had a really high performing team. My company had team reviews, and I got to review everyone on my team, but they didn't get to review me as a manager. Only my boss got to review me as an employee, but he doesn't know my management skills because he doesn't see me in action with my team, right? So Google had the same problem. They were promoting very easily, like within the team, and you know, us in tech, sometimes we're very left-brained, right? So what I did is I used Google's 13-question survey, and I checked with HR that was okay to use it, okay? I gave it to them to answer anonymously, so they didn't have to submit their names or their emails or whatever. And it was a way for me to get feedback from them. So I gave them a deadline. I just said, submit it within the next 5 days. So Monday, I'll check it. I'll see what you guys said. Don't tell me you did it because I know how to track it. So I really wanted to create a space for them to feel free to give me feedback. Even though they always give me great reviews, I really wanted constructive feedback. And so out of one of the surveys that came back was that somebody wished that I was talking to them more about their future in the company and how to get promoted to maybe other positions or a management position. And I thought, oh my God, this is a great idea. I'm gonna start implementing a coaching program within my team. Now that person wound up leaving the company right after that, and then we had rounds of layoffs, there was a restructuring, and then I wind up with the top 8 performers of my team. All women, amazing women. And so what I did is I asked them, who's thinking of a management path and wants to get coaching with me one-on-one during company time? It's okay, we don't have to tell HR, we don't have to tell anybody, but I would like to do this for you. And a bunch of them took me up on it, okay? So that was a great feedback that I got from them. So next question. Okay, what statement best represents you at this moment? A, I contribute to a positive and supportive environment. B, I help team members overcome challenges and conflicts. C, all of the above. D, none of the above. Test prep skills here, you know, anytime that you see all of the above, it's most likely all of the above. So give yourself a point if you chose all of the above. Okay, so this goes back to what I was just saying, right? My team wanted to be coach and grow. Okay, this is growth mindset. You see it listed in job descriptions all the time. This is what growth mindset is, right? And maybe at this point, if you're not a manager, you may not have an outlet to be able to do this, right? But you can help other team members when they ask for help, right? Or tell them that you're here available for them, right? Because no one likes unsolicited advice, right? So, but you do want to hear that somebody's there for you if they need you, right? And that they can call you and ask you questions. All right. So we're gonna move a little faster so we can go. True or false? I seek input and involve others in decision making. All right, that's an easy one, right? Why do we need to be part of decision making? Anybody? No, Barkin knows the answer. Somebody else, come on. Why do we need to be part of decision making?
To improve engagement and ownership.
Yes, but if I'm a good leader and I hire you for your skills, why am I not using them if I don't involve you in my decisions, right? You know your shit. So I need to use your skills because that's what you're here, right? If you have a manager that is not doing that, they're not a good manager, obviously, right? But you need to feel trusted. You need to feel like you're part of the team, that you matter, that your thoughts, that what you went to school for or not, or the certifications that you do, that you can actually apply that in a day-to-day basis, right? That you're important, that your opinions matter, right? So that's why it's important to involve your team in decision-making processes, right? All right. A little bit different here. We're going to switch gears a little bit. I love this, okay? I actually consider delegation, and this might be controversial for some people, okay? I only, as a manager and as a leader, I only delegate under two rules. You have to meet both in order for me to delegate something to you. One is I have done it at least 3 or 4 times. I'm really good at it. I know what it takes. And 2, you actually ask me to delegate that stuff to you, okay? Because otherwise, I'm asking you to do my job. And you're not getting paid to do my job, right? So let me give you an example of how this is actually important, okay? So remember how I said my team wanted to learn more about how to get better at management or get promoted or maybe move to a different team, right? Career advancement, we call it, right? So when a couple of them said, I actually really would love to have my own team one day. What do I need to do? And then another person said, you know, I'm not ready for the PMP, but I could explore the camp certification, which is one level below PMP, right? It's like the beginning part of PMP, if you don't know. Now, here's the funny thing about PMP, right? Or almost any of that type of certification. You have to have a certain amount of hours doing that task before you can apply to that. But how are you gonna get the experience if you haven't done it before, right? How are you gonna say, I have 35 hours of project management if you're not a project manager? But you can't get hired as a project manager if you haven't managed projects, okay? It's a catch-22. So as a manager, I said, I love it. I'm gonna put you in charge of 2 projects. I'll let you choose which 2 projects you wanna do. You'll get some hours, and then you can put that in your application, okay? And then the other person that wanted to be a manager, same thing. I said, what would you like to specialize in. And she said, I would love to know more about training. Like, I would love to train people. I said, perfect. You're in charge of training our team from now on. And they loved it. They got the experience. And guess what? When it was time for them to get laid off, they had the skills to go get a job doing those things. Okay? So that's the only time when I personally will delegate something to someone in my team, because they have asked me to get the experience and I know how to do it. And by the way, Christopher Nolan, my favorite director, has seen it. So just plugging in my movie buff stuff there. All right, so let's switch a little bit. You know, you heard me say the word leader versus manager, right? I'm very much a fan of servant leadership. In fact, the PMP is all about servant leadership. Same thing, Agile, Scrum, which I'm also a Scrum Master. That's what they test you and they will ask you is, can you be a servant leader, okay? A servant leader means if your team needs water because they're running a 5K, you're gonna fetch the water, my friends, okay? You're not gonna just be like, yeah, you guys go and do your 5K and I'm just gonna see you on Monday. No, you're gonna be fetching the water. So I have a really great story about this. That boss that I was telling you about that would ghost you if you were in his shit list. So we would put out this one time a year event for our consumer market. I was in charge of the whole company, but I was in the digital programs. But we didn't have a manager for the live programs. So I stepped up and I said, I'll run it, you know. Up to this point, the company's been in business 15 years and this event has always gone with one or two things wrong. So I can step up and make it 100% right. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Again, I didn't delegate, but I knew that everybody that had a job within that event was really good at what they did. They didn't need me to tell them how to do their jobs, okay? Believe it or not, the biggest job that got the most messed up and that caused the most problems for that event was getting the coffee order wrong in the morning. Because we would start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and these were night owls that would go to sleep at like 3 or 4 in the morning. So not getting their coffee at 7 a.m. was a big deal, especially for my boss. If his order wasn't right, his whole day for the whole event was ruined. Okay, so I made it my job to be the one that fetched the coffee. And I got the order right, I got it on time, I got even bagels and donuts and breakfast because coffee goes better with something. And guess what? I got rave reviews that year from everyone in the team. And all I did was run around fetching stuff for the team. That's all I did. And I wore sneakers because I knew I was gonna be running up and down the stairs, getting coffee, water, whatever was needed for my team to do their job. I did it, okay? And that's how you help your team, right? Because you hire them to do a job. You don't need to tell them how to do their job, right? So that's the difference between a leader and a boss. And guess what? If you understand that concept, you can pass the PMP and any Scrum certification or any Agile certification, because that's all they test you about. All right, so we talked about manager versus leader, believes in the team, focuses on empowerment, et cetera, et cetera. Jacob Morgan has a really great newsletter that can help you educate yourself on how to handle situations, et cetera. I really love his thoughts. So let me play this little video. Oh, you know what, guys? I don't know if I'll get sound. But let me tell you what the video is about, and you've probably seen it, okay? The boss accidentally left his phone in the break room, and his employees tried to change his algorithm. So they were whispering things like, you'll see it here. How to get training for being a better manager, etc. It's a really funny clip. I should have checked the sound before we did this. Sorry, guys. I apologize about that. But again, servant leadership is about being ready to be in support of your team. Okay. All right. So I have a handout with a few more of this and some other things that you can do. But the thing that I want you to think about today is what can you do in 30 days? What is one micro step, one new thing you can practice to get better at any of those skills that you got a 0 in? Okay? So 30 days, what can you do? Does anyone want to maybe, what comes to mind when I say 30 days? Oh yeah, I can practice this. Anyone?
I mean, I run a small agency, so it's not maybe the exact same. So it's more like business, but I was thinking of recording all the trainings that I do, because I need to work with a lot of 1099 contractors, and then that way
Love it.
it's they can replay it in case they get lost, and it's more of my time freed up.
Love it. Perfect. That's improving processes and trainings. Love it. Anybody else?
Something similar to what you said, but basically work study student at department at college, and basically I would do hands-on with setting up monitors and everything like that. They would do how to do tutorial for other people, because I might not be there every time of day, so it definitely something to go on, especially if you have interns there as well. So
Love it. Excellent. That's empowering your team to not need you for something like that. Excellent. Love it. All right. Any questions? Anything that I can answer? Any situational questions, maybe? Don't be shy. I'm not going to give you the microphone.
Right? Oh my goodness. No,
No, that's
I'm
okay.
good.
I know. It's just we've had conversations.
She's like my psychologist.
Yeah, I have a question. Situational questions.
Yes.
People, even if you're open to feedback, there's still the regardless whether it's critical feedback, negative note, or constructive, some people can handle better than most in the feedback regardless. What would you suggest with the negative feedback that you have? What would you use or what would you take from that? Because I definitely learned to do it, but most people cannot handle it.
Yeah.
It's you're just doing this wrong, you should try to do this, and some people just don't do the try this sort of stuff. What would you suggest?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First, I would use some sort of personality system to get to know people before you deliver that feedback, right? Because everybody speaks different in different language, and everybody's motivation is different, right? And some people are not going to tell you anything until you get to know them. So get to know the person, figure out what motivates them, and how you can have that conversation first. Another thing is there's a way to have a difficult conversation with someone, but that's more like when you're their manager and they messed up, right? Okay. The last thing I would say is I would never say you did this wrong. I can tell you because it doesn't work. I tell my husband all the time all the shit that he does wrong, and you think he's changed anything in 22 years we've been married? No. And if he were to say that to me, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do it again and again and again, right? So I wouldn't have that conversation that way, right? So you have to figure out a way to talk to them about what is happening, right? And also I would say, if you're a mirror for them, right, you have to make sure that you're not doing the same thing that they're doing, right? Because then they're gonna say, well, he's doing the same thing. Why is he doing it and I can't do it, right? So you have to, again, lead by example and again, get to know how that person talks and how to motivate them and what drives them, and then you can have that conversation with them, okay? That's how you deliver feedback. Because here's the thing, we say, yes, we're open to feedback, right? But a lot of times, we don't want to hear it unless we're real about it, right? And there's very few people that I can tell you that are ready to hear feedback, okay? So get to know them. That's the bottom line.
I appreciate those tips. Like I've led teams where they were my team, right? Now I have a team, a core team, but then I work with a lot of contractors. So how do you suggest when you're like someone's manager temporarily, right? You need them for a project, they're like a 1099 contractor, and then they go. So like I feel like I don't have time to do all this great tips you have. Yeah.
You still have to get to know them. I'm sorry, even when you hire them, when you interview them. As a contractor, I do the same thing. I get to know the people I'm gonna work with. And that's why I use a personality system, because and I use Enneagram because it's very easy to recognize someone just by how they're dressed, how they're sitting, how they talk. And I became an expert at it to the point that I actually teach Enneagram. But the reason why I did it is because that was the easiest way for me to identify how you work without asking you, this is how she works, okay? But I took that initiative to do that, right? If you can't do that, and you can't ask somebody like, oh, take this Myers-Briggs test so I can figure out how you work, right? It's also who wants to do that sometimes as a contractor, unless you're paying them to do it, right? But I work with some companies where they have said, can you interview all of my employees and figure out their number in Enneagram so I know how to communicate with them and have a coaching session with them, right? So you do have to get to know them because otherwise you're not going to understand their motivation. And those are things that you could do while you're interviewing them for the job, right? Like while you're hiring for the job, you can ask them random questions, okay? I used to do something, and this is pre-pandemic when we did interviews in person. I would actually have the front desk person ask a bunch of questions while the person was filling out the application. And I would also ask them some questions just as I'm walking them from the front desk to where the interview was happening. I would say, did you have a difficult time getting here? Because guess what's going to tell me how she answers that question. How prepared did she come to the interview? Did she look it up before? Did she drive here? If she says, oh yeah, I couldn't find a parking lot. All right, you're already telling me like, I'm gonna have to spend time hand holding you when I give you directions on how to get here, right? Did you call me the night before to ask me how to get there? No. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be hand holding you, okay? But if you say, yeah, I actually drove here the day after we talked to figure out where I needed to park, how long it was gonna take me, and that tells me, okay, she's gonna be prepared. That's excellent. All right. And then I would ask them questions like, have you been to this city before? And that would, just little questions like that that are not interview questions, just in the time we're walking from the front desk to the conference room. Now, you can't do that anymore, but there are other ways that, certain questions are gonna tell you how to work with those contractors, right? Even simple questions as like, do you prefer that we communicate in Slack, that I call you, that I email you, that I text you? Because that right there is gonna tell you like, oh, this person doesn't want me to call them all the time, right? Now, some contractors have already put together like, this is how we work, this is how we wanna do this thing, right? But yeah, the bottom line is you have to take the time to get to know them because it's gonna cost you more time later when you're dealing with difficult situations with that person than if you take the time up front to see if you will, how you can work better. And the thing is like, if you're in the management or leadership position, it's your job to adapt to that person, okay? Because you cannot ask them to change, for them to change if you're the one that is going to benefit from the relationship, okay? So it is a lot of work. Management of people, it's not for everybody, and it's okay. I work with a lot of engineers that want to take the PMP, but when I tell them how much it is about managing people, they're like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to deal with people. I cannot stand them. I just want to be a coder in the corner, and I just want to see my Slack, and that's it. I don't want to talk to people. Then yeah, you should not be managing people, and hire a PM to do that for you that is really good with people. All right, guys. One last thing I'm going to tell you. Thank you.
Oh, I have one last question.
I have.
Okay.
So just see me afterwards.
Oh yes.
I have some upcoming courses that I'm teaching along with my partner Tangy of creative devs. We're going to be teaching leveraging AI for your business and marketing strategy. We're also doing an intro course on tech things. And I'm going to be teaching CompTIA fundamentals. So if you have any friends that want to get into tech, these last 2 courses are really good for that. If you're an entrepreneur that doesn't know how to grow your business through marketing, this is going to be a great course too. This little QRC leads to my LinkedIn so that you can stay updated there. I post all my workshops and things that I do there. Next week, I'm going to be in a panel for Greater City of Hollywood, and it's going to be about leveraging AI and emerging technologies. It's an amazing panel. If you're in the area and are free, I encourage you to attend. And this is how to stay in touch, whichever mode of communication you prefer, okay? And that's my hi, hello, so you can get my contact information. I do coaching sessions, one-on-ones. I also help entrepreneurs, or I should say people who have been in the tech community thinking of going on their own and don't know where to start. So I help them as well. So thank you so much for your time. I have a handout that I'm going to give you. It does have some homework for you to do, something that you can do in the next 30 days, whichever skill you want to improve on. And there's some resources in the back as well where you can do some research on the things that we talked about. So thank you.